Electrical and electronic measuring equipments. Ammeter. An ammeter, abbreviation of ampermeter, is a measuring instrument used to measure the current in a circuit. Electric currents are measured in amperes A, hence the name. The ammeter is usually connected in series with the circuit in which the current is to be measured. An ammeter usually has low resistance so that it does not cause a significant voltage drop in the circuit being measured. Instructions used to measure smaller currents in the milliampere or microampere range are designated as milliammeters or microammeters. Current clamp. A current clamp, also known as current probe, is an electrical device with jaws which open to allow clamping around an electrical conductor. This allows measurement of the current in a conductor without the need to make physical contact with it or to disconnect it for insertion through the probe. Capacitance. A capacitance meter is a piece of electronic test equipment used to measure capacitance, mainly of discrete capacitors. Depending on the sophistication of the meter, it may display the capacitance only, or it may also measure a number of other parameters such as leakage, equivalent series resistance (ESR), and inductance. Curve tracer. A semiconductor curve tracer, also known as a semiconductor parameter analyzer, is a specialist piece of electronic test equipment used to analyze the characteristics of discrete semiconductor devices such as diodes, transistors, and thyristors. Simple curve tracer circuit. Cos-fill meter. The power factor in a single-phase circuit or balanced three-phase circuit can be measured with the wattmeter ammeter voltmeter method, where the power in watts is divided by the product of measured voltage and current. Single-phase power factor meter. Source. Direct connected with current transformer and voltage transformer. Load. Distortion meter. Distortion meter, or more precisely distortion factor meter, is an electronic measuring instrument which displays the amount of distortion added to the original signal by an electronic circuit. Phase. Balanced modulator and local amplifier. Selective amplifier. VV. Electricity meter. An electricity meter, electric meter, electrical meter, energy meter, or kilowatt-hour meter is a device that measures the amount of electric energy consumed by a residence, a business, or an electricity-powered device. Two ways of wiring, from top to bottom or from bottom to top. ESR meter. An ESR meter is a two-terminal electronic measuring instrument which designed and used primarily to measure the equivalent series resistance (ESR) of real capacitors, usually without the need to disconnect the capacitor from the circuit it is connected to. Frequency counter. A frequency counter is an electronic instrument, or component of one, that is used for measuring frequency. Frequency counter usually measure the number of cycles of oscillation, or pulses per second in a periodic electronic signal. Leakage tester. The leakage current test takes place during the actual use of the electrical product. For this purpose, the electrical device is connected to the operating voltage and tested to see whether too high a leakage current flows through the insulation to the housing. LCR meter. An LCR meter is a type of electronic test equipment used to measure the equivalent series L, capacitance C, and resistance R of an electronic component. Megger tester. The Megger test is a method of testing making use of an insulation tester resistance meter that will help to verify the condition of electrical insulation. Insulation resistance quality of an electrical system degrades with time, environment condition, temperature, humidity, moisture, and dust. Microwave power. A microwave power meter is an instrument which measures the electrical power at microwave frequencies, typically in the range 100 MHz to 40 GHz. Usually a microwave power meter will consist of a measuring head which contains the actual power sensing element, connected via a cable to the meter proper, which displays the power reading. Multimeter. A multimeter is a measuring instrument that can measure multiple electrical properties. A typical multimeter can measure voltage, resistance, and current, in which case it is also known as a volt-ohm milliammeter vom. Network analyzers. Network analyzers commonly measure S parameters because reflection and transmission of electrical networks are easy to measure at high frequencies, but there are other network parameter sets such as Y parameters, Z parameters, and H parameters. From source. Incident, reflected to transmitted. Incident to incident R and reflected to reflected A. Transmitted to transmitted B. To receiver or detector to processor or display. Oscilloscope. An oscilloscope, previously called an oscillograph, and informally known as a scope or oscope, CRO for cathode ray oscilloscope, or ORTSO for the more modern digital storage oscilloscope, is a type of electronic test instrument that graphically displays varying signal voltages, usually as a calibrated to dimensional plot of one or more signals as a function of time. Cephalometer. In telecommunications, a cephalometer is an instrument that measures the perceptible noise of a telephone circuit. As the human perceived level of noise is more important for telephony than their raw voltage, a modern cephalometer incorporates a weighting network to represent this perception. Q-meter. Q-meter is a piece of equipment used in the testing of radio frequency circuits. It has been largely replaced in professional laboratories by other types of impedance measuring devices, though it is still in use among radio amateurs. Tachometer. A tachometer revolution counter, Tach, rev counter, RPM gauge is an instrument measuring the rotation speed of a shaft or disc, as in a motor or other machine. The device usually displays the revolutions per minute RPM on a calibrated analog dial, but digital displays are increasingly common. Signal analyzer. A signal analyzer is an instrument that measures the magnitude and phase of the input signal at a single frequency within the if bandwidth of the instrument. It employs digital techniques to extract useful information that is carried by an electrical signal. Signal generator. A signal generator is one of the class of electronic devices that generates electronic signals with set properties of amplitude, frequency, and wave shape. These generated signals are used as a stimulus for electronic measurements, typically used in designing, testing, troubleshooting, and repairing electronic or electroacoustic devices, though it often has artistic uses as well. Spectrum analyzer. A spectrum analyzer measures the magnitude of an input signal versus frequency within the full frequency range of the instrument. The primary use is to measure the power of the spectrum of known and unknown signals. Sweep generator. A sweep generator is a piece of electronic test equipment similar to, and sometimes included on, a function generator which creates an electrical waveform with a linearly varying frequency and a constant amplitude. Sweep generators are commonly used to test the frequency response of electronic filter circuits. These circuits are mostly transistor circuits with inductors and capacitors to create linear characteristics. Transistor tester. Transistor testers are instruments for testing the electrical behavior of transistors and solid-state diodes. Tube tester. A tube tester is an electronic instrument designed to test certain characteristics of vacuum tubes' thermionic valves. Tube testers evolved along with the vacuum tube to satisfy the demands of the time, and their evolution ended with the tube era. Wattmeter. The wattmeter is an instrument for measuring the electric active power or the average of the rate of flow of electrical energy in watts of any given circuit. Electromagnetic wattmeters are used for measurement of utility frequency and audio frequency power. Other types are required for radio frequency measurements. Vectorscope. A vectorscope is a special type of oscilloscope used in both audio and video applications. Whereas an oscilloscope or waveform monitor normally displays a plot of signal vs time, a vectorscope displays an XY plot of the signals, which can reveal details about the relationship between these two signals. Video signal generator. A video signal generator is a type of signal generator which outputs predetermined video and/or television oscillation waveforms and other signals used in the synchronization of television devices, and to stimulate faults in or aid in parametric measurements of television and video systems. VU meter measures the level of AF signals in volume units. A volume unit VU meter or standard volume indicator SVI is a device displaying a representation of the signal level in audio equipment. That's all. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.